That's right, folks. It's another episode of the Razzball Fantasy Football Podcast. And when I tell you we are fuming this week, folks, the title says it all. Fantasy football sucks. I started the Giants defense, got minus 3 points, and lost by 3 points. It doesn't get worse. So today I told my team to bring what grinds your gears. What is the one fantasy stud that became a dud and is just driving you absolutely insane this season? And Sky, I'm going to call on you first, buddy. First of all, hello, Matt. Hi, Derek. Hi, everybody. I love all of you. I'm excited. Go follow these guys. Sky's going to do the promotion stuff. He's going to talk about everybody's handles. Right now, I just want to hear some hard, grinding gears venting. Sky, what do you got for us, man?
Welcome back, everybody. Bob was off the rocker on Sunday, folks. Thankfully, that has continued. He had a brief Monday grip, but he's back on it here. And yes, that is correct. It has been a bit tough, man. We got a lot of injuries going on, especially at prime positions, right? Quarterbacks. We had a lot of bye weeks, and now we have 4 more coming up. So make sure you're careful with those. Matty Styles at Styles08, Derek Favret, Derek _Favret, and Bob Lamarco, of course, Bobby Lamarco. You can find me on Twitter as well. Sky Guasco. Also, make sure to download the podcast if you have not already. Those of you on the go, it is a great way to get our episodes that are all repurposed during the week. I put them on 1.5 speed, and I just blast through them really quick if I need to catch up. It helps me reiterate the information. And, of course, all of our articles are live on football.razzball.com. Right now, you can already check out Matt Styles' waiver article. Mitch Staniger is who you're looking for. All of those are live and ready to go. We're going to talk about a few of those tonight. We're also going to talk about a few of the team takeaways, player takeaways, and of course, trade targets. Most leagues have a trade deadline coming up on the 18th of November. That's kind of your default for most settings. So that's the week before Thanksgiving. It's in 2 weeks. I generally push mine out to December. When I'm a commissioner, I just like more time to make trades before playoffs. But be careful and make sure you get that notification and take a look in your league of when the trade target comes up so you don't get caught off guard and you don't get caught left-handed without any of your opportunities to make those trades. So before we kick off the show at large, we're going to go round robin here quickly. I'll start. And we each picked a player that we were excited about coming into the season. They had high ADP. They had high expectations. Maybe we drafted them in the first 4 rounds, give or take. And maybe they've had a couple of good weeks, but they haven't met expectations for a variety of reasons. And that is the reason we have the header tonight. Fantasy football sucks. Is it time to trade these studs? Right? That's a big question. Now, do you want to get rid of one of your primetime guys that you spent 2-round capital on and you've been starting every week, but are they bringing down your ship? You got to cut ties. We need to make the playoffs. Anything can happen. Let's see what can happen with a lot of these guys starting to emerge. So, gentlemen, good evening. Let's kick it off. Per usual on the Tuesday show, we do have a lot to cover, so I'll get right into it. Make sure you hit that bell and subscribe. Leave a comment below on your favorite trade target you're looking for and favorite trade away player you just got to get rid of and which player's been bringing down your ship. So, guys, I'm going to kick it off here. This one's a bit of a cheat code for me because I was already fading Geno Smith coming in for the Seahawks. I just didn't see him recouping what he was going to do last year. I've watched Geno Smith like all of us have for the last 10 years. And then he exploded during the back half of last season, which was great. Or I should say the front half, and then he backed off in the back half. And I just didn't believe that they were going to continue that coming on with Kenneth Walker there and a change up on defense. So faded Seahawks a little bit, but one guy I've always believed in is DK Metcalf. Well, guess what? That has burned me big time in any leagues that I have DK Metcalf in. And those of you going after Tyler Lockett, like we do every year, and just draft Lockett in the 9th round, I know Derek's on that. Draft Lockett in the 9th instead, pass up on DK in the 3rd round. I didn't do that every once in a while. So before we get going, Bob, we're going to do a quick round robin to each one of you guys. I'm just curious, where is DK Metcalf ranked? Total finish right now. He's wide receiver X in PPR leagues right now. Bob, what's your guess?
42.
Matt?
42.
Derek?
38.
46. Folks, he's behind Michael Thomas, Curtis Samuel, Romeo Doubs, Tutu Atwell, Rasheed Rice, just to name a few of who he's behind. Unfortunately, DK Metcalf is the second ranked, so Tyler Lockett's ahead of him in fantasy finishes. And over the last 4 weeks since the bye week, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who I had in my trade article 4 weeks ago, right, in the slot, he is the best producing Seahawk wide receiver, and it's not close over the last 4 weeks. So it's Smith and Jigba, Lockett, DK, but obviously the draft capital says opposite. So we'll get into it in a bit, but spoiler alert for the rest of the show, DK Metcalf is absolutely a trade away candidate for me on my leagues. I need more consistency. He's not getting the touchdowns, not getting the big plays, 1 catch for 50 yards. Love that. That was the entire stat line. I can't have that every single week. DK Metcalf is the player that I was hyped on. No longer. Got to cut ties. I'm moving on. Bob, who is your guy?
Well, before we get started, the irony is you're rocking the Seattle Mariners hat. The Mariners hat.
Love the Mariners. Ken Griffey Jr. has nothing to do with this.
Okay, when I used to like baseball, Ken Griffey Jr. was my guy. The backwards cap.
Of course he was.
The swagger lefty. Loved every second of it. But Scott, I gotta ask you a question though. You're selling DK. How hard are you selling? And as I fade into this is like my scary man in the shadows request here. Would you take right now Deebo Samuel for DK Metcalf?
Absolutely. I want Deebo, not even question.
Okay. What about let's get crazy. Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I want Ridley for sure.
Josh Downs.
Downs is tough only because he's nursing that knee injury, but I'll tell you what, man, that's tough. I would say on touchdown upside and the offense, probably DK there, I guess, but we all love Josh Downs on the show.
Last one, Zay Flowers.
I got to stick with Zay. Lamar Jackson is arguably the best quarterback in the league right now. If you just watch football, he doesn't have the fantasy points because he's not scoring, because Gus Edwards is on fire right now. But Lamar Jackson is absolutely on fire. That offense is great. I'd rather have Zay Flowers personally.
All right. Well, mine is going to be trade away one of the best wide receivers of our generation, and it is Davante Adams. Sorry, the branding. There we go. So it's just at this point, listen, the Antonio Pierce thing comes in. The coaching staff is now gone. Pierce has got the boys fired up. And the first thing Pierce is like, we're going to get Josh Jacobs going, baby. 22 carries, running the football down the Giants' throat. And Aiden O'Connell is just doing enough to just get by, right? Throws for like just over 200 yards. They dominate. They win the game, okay? Not only that do they have to deal with this quarterback situation, but Jacoby Myers, just apples to apples, has been more consistent than Davante Adams. If you isolate that 42-point game by Davante Adams, by the way, he is – right now, we just talked about DK Metcalf. Davante Adams is a wide receiver 3. And on top of that, he has one monster game of 42 PPR points. So if you take out that game, this guy has been nothing but a wide receiver 3. I'm willing to trade. I don't know if you can get this. You guys need to rally me in a little bit here. But if I offered you Davante Adams for Deebo or Ayuk, would you guys take the deal?
I want Ayuk.
I want Ayuk.
I would take Ayuk, yes.
Would you guys give me Deebo for Adams though?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Oh, so I got Deebo. All right, cool. Even better. I was going to say Mike Evans. Would you guys keep Evans or take Devontae?
I'm keeping Evans.
I want Adams.
Full PPR, I'm going to go Evan. Full PPR, I'll go Adams. Otherwise, I'll go Evans.
So I could get Evans and Deebo right now for Davante Adams. And this is the point. Like, Davante Adams has still got the name of a wide receiver 1, and he's producing all season long like a wide receiver 3. This is still that time. And this is not Aiden O'Connell. I'm hoping for the best. But at the same time, Jacoby Myers has proven to be more of a 1B than a number 2 in this offense. And that passing offense is not going to have enough volume to support these two guys as wide receiver 1s. So you could still get a guy like Deebo and Mike Evans. Go for it. I'm telling you right now, trade Davante Adams. They have the third toughest out wide schedule rest of season. You don't want to be dealing with that. He is a wide receiver 3 on matchup alone, and that's why I'm getting rid of him. Matt, what's your thoughts on your pick?
It's not the player's fault all the time, and my player, it's certainly not his fault, but my guy is Bijan Robinson. We know whose fault it is. It's Arthur Smith's fault.
Well, he shaved the mustache.
Arthur Smith.
Not my fault.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could be.
A lot of things are my fault, but not this one, all right?
And I want to start, with something after I say Bijan, and we can discuss that a little bit further. For the record, Bob's eating dinner, and it's no pair Tuesday.
No.
Bob did not live up to his part of the bargain with us on Sunday. We agreed he was going to get a Bartlett, an Asian, and a third pair. He didn't do it. I'm disappointed. I think I speak for half of the other, the other half of the quad box and saying they're disappointed too. We don't need to belabor the point, but Bob, you've let us all down. So Bijan Robinson, would you trade him straight up for Devontae Adams?
Yes.
Oh God.
Would you trade Bijan Robinson for DK Metcalf?
I want Adams, but I want Bijan over Metcalf.
Second that.
Would you trade Bijan for Tony Pollard?
We might have to hear from. Yeah, I don't know. Might change my mind in a second, but I'll stick with Adams on that one.
I guess it's roster specific, so let's just get that out of the way. So we're just going to assume everybody in this scenario has every running back and wide receiver you need, so you're fine. I'd rather. I mean, Dallas has been so bad, and their rest of season schedule isn't that good either. I'm going to take Tony Pollard.
Let's assume Khalil Herbert is season ending. He's not coming back. Would you rather have Deontay Foreman or Bijan Robinson rest of season?
Bijan.
Yeah. And Herbert is coming.
I think you're going way lower. Way lower.
I'm just saying, look at the numbers. The numbers say absolutely Deontay Foreman.
Let me turn it around on you though. Let me ask you this: you're the Bijan Robinson. Or if I offer you Devonta Foreman, are you going to take Foreman for him?
No.
All right. So. Okay. Well, all right.
All right. Well, we mentioned a name, Derek. I'll turn it over to you.
What a segue! You're making me wish I played in a league with you when you owned Bijan Robinson.
No, I'm not trading him
because my guy is Tony Pollard. I mean, Tony Pollard came in this season, and I don't know about you guys, but I expected him to be an Austin Eckler light, if you will, and catching passes out of the backfield, running for 80+ yards per game. Yeah, that's not happening. We had one game over 100 yards. He had 122 versus Arizona. Go figure. He's got 2 touchdowns on the season, both in week 1 against the Giants. Go figure. And he has 0 receiving touchdowns. So yeah, that's not the Tony Pollard that I drafted. So tell me, guys. I mean, I guess with Matt, I could get Bijan Robinson for him, which I would take that deal in a heartbeat.
I just asked a question.
I was more thinking if I had Tony Pollard, you had Rachaad White, PPR. Would you take Tony Pollard for your Rachaad White?
Not after Sunday.
Because PPR, there's only one format. It's PPR. We already established that last Sunday.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. It should be a point and a half.
Yeah, 2-time PPR is what I'm about. If we're getting if Rachaad White is actually a running back now, which he was on Sunday, then that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. So if you were the Rachaad White owner, would you take Pollard for White? Would you send me White?
Nope.
I wouldn't. I would now. I mean, he went from James White to, a C+ Kamara. If he's getting both work and all the touches, we see this every year. There's subpar running backs who are good. James Robinson, right? There's subpar running backs who are really good in fantasy because they get all the work. And if he's getting goal line work and actually, exactly, Gus Edwards maybe. I mean, it just. He's getting the work through the passing game for sure. And then he's also getting the goal line touches also. Rachaad White has exploded the last couple of weeks.
So James Conner's coming back from injury.
Ooh.
That's a Bob question.
Kyler Murray behind could I trade you a healthy Tony Pollard for a returning James Conner?
Yes.
No. I'd rather have Pollard personally.
I would rather have Pollard.
Okay, let's get. I think that really comes down to some of these questions. Pollard's his schedule opens up a little. Giants are a dumpster fire. We just saw what Josh Jacobs did to them. Then he has Carolina, Washington, Seattle, which has been weird. Like the Ravens just ran. I mean, maybe it's just the Ravens, but they just got destroyed. Then they got Philly, Buffalo, Miami, Detroit. So like, I think if you need a guy right now that's going to be good for the next 3 to 4 weeks, Pollard probably be really good. He's probably going to bounce back over the next month. And then
so
the playoff schedule,
he kind of is what you're saying. You have some hope for Pollard.
Yeah. And again, think outside the box here. The offense, Dak looked really good. Look, I'm number one Cowboy hater. Whatever, we all are. That's just what you are if you're not a Cowboy fan. Dak looks great. He just does the last couple of weeks against Philly, right? CeeDee Lamb went off again. Tony Pollard had a good game, and he did score a touchdown. It was called back on a penalty, right? So if he scores that touchdown, there's no penalty. We're significantly in a different mode there. So I think that's a good move.
I think when you get down to this point, like if you've been riding with Pollard has been bad, but he is still like RB17. So like it's just the problem is we draft him in round 1 or 2. I think with some of these guys, if you've been riding with him, I think in some cases they have moved from the auto start to maybe they are a questionable flex play in a tough matchup now. Like, and I think that's the same thing with Davante Adams. Like Davante Adams, my opinion, I'm not dropping Davante Adams, but if I have him, I'm playing him in good matchups and I'm sitting him when he has I am not playing Davante Adams this week against Jets. I'm fading that matchup if I have to. Like, I don't have any interest. Are any of you guys starting Davante Adams against the Jets?
Nope. Derek, tell the story.
I did. I had to, but I did. Yes.
No, but you.
Well, no, it's this week.
Adams on both of our benches, right? League 1 and League 2. You put him on the bench.
Oh, I did. You're right. I did. Yep. Yes.
So
because we have Christian Kirk. We have Amon-Ra St. Brown. We don't. We have Debo coming off the IR. We do not need Davante's 4 points against the Jets.
And we had some good running backs too that we could play in the flex over Davante. Yes.
And that's all I think this really is about, right? I think it's more about understanding that these guys you can't just blindly start these guys anymore. They are matchup dependent. It's crazy to say Davante Adams is matchup dependent, but he is. Tony Pollard maybe is still an RB2 in most games, but this week he wasn't an RB2. I mean, Scott brought up a good point. He did get a touchdown called back, but the problem is he got that opportunity. It got called back, and he didn't score again. He didn't finish as an RB2 anyway. That's the problem, right? Like, these are the guys that are now no longer auto start. So that's what I think you got to take away from this. It's just understanding that the name doesn't match the production, which means that you have to adjust now. If you can't, like, I just found out I can get Deebo Samuel for him. I'm trading Davante Adams for Deebo all day. Mike Evans, if I can get Mike Evans for him, I'm trading him all day. So it's not a bad idea to shop them, but I would play the matchups if I can't find a good trade for them.
Yeah, and it's mainly just because we want a piece of that Baker Mayfield offense. Am I right?
Top 12, baby. Let's go.
Hey, yeah, obviously. All right, so that's going to be our main 4-player quadrants. We got a lot of other players to discuss here as well. Some trade targets, some trade aways. Of course, again, Matt Stiles' article under Mitch Staniger is live right now on football.razzball.com. So go check that out as well. Let us know with the waiver columns. Derek's going to have his top things to know at the end of the week. That's always very helpful. Last week, was it the last-ditch effort texting the guys? Who do I put in? Zay Flowers, Mike Evans, Deontay Johnson. Verbatim, it was Deontay Johnson with the matchup. Sure enough, he scores his first touchdown of his career or something ridiculous. But nonetheless, it worked out quite well. So make sure you go to check that article. And then, of course, all the slot versus wide knowledge for the rest of the week. So, boys, I want to get into not so much recapping last week. We've been doing that the last couple of weeks, but we're halfway through the season. We need to start looking progressively to the next 4 weeks, getting us ready for playoff runs. So less about what we saw last week and more about what we saw last week caters to moving forward. let's go through these matchups in these games here, trimming it down a little bit from what we've done over the last couple of weeks, because I feel like it's more important that we look ahead than continue to digress behind us, because all that other research is already coming out in the rest of our articles. Before we do that, though, of course, we are men of the people. So we're going to bring up a question here from Daniel, who wants to know right off the bat. I like kicking off the show with a DST question, BT Dubs. Oh, get that back up on there. Sorry about that. Try to put that on there. Come on now. Daniel wants to know. All right, I'll read it off. I'm not sure why it's not coming up. Sorry, guys. Need some help here. Looking for a DST question here. We got the Jets versus the Raiders. We have the Seattle Seahawks versus my Washington Sam Howells. We have the Pittsburgh not Penguins against the Packers, and then the Bears and the Carolina Panthers. Wondering which DST you guys like best of that mix. So again, we're going to be putting in waivers tonight. So we'll go on Robin quickly on which DST you like best on that, and then maybe the second one as well, just in case we're not able to get the Jets, if that is your top one. Bob, you want to kick this off? I think you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Okay. All right. There we go. Not on. The Jets defense against the Raiders is probably my number one clear cut in this one. And then probably after that, I guess I would go Pittsburgh against Green Bay as my two options there.
The Jets is the best defense on the board, and I cannot believe I'm going to say this, so please stop recording. Everybody stop listening. I think the second defense on that list with the matchup is the NFC North team, the Chicago Bears. Bears.
Well, we're going to be no help to Daniel because unless he gets the Jets, because the Jets are my team, but otherwise I'm going up to the Great Northwest and I'm going with the Seahawks over the Commanders.
Nice. Shouts out to our friend Jay Buhner. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Jets, and actually I'm going to go with Pittsburgh versus Green Bay, unfortunately, as well for us Packer fans. Sammy Howell can turn the ball over a little bit. That offensive line's decimated, but Seattle got embarrassed against Baltimore. So I think that Washington will be able to move the ball a little bit. So we're all going Jets. Hopefully that works out for you. If not, then it might be a smorgasbord, if you will. And Daniel followed up with, I'm doomed.
Any question, guys? Is there a defense that you guys are feeling this week that's maybe not on this list that is maybe lesser owned, streamer? Like, has anybody got a feel for anybody?
I like Atlanta.
I can pull it.
Like, I like the Raiders against the Jets.
I like the Raiders too.
That's a good one.
I actually like the Raiders. Hot take, maybe. I like the Raiders versus the Jets more than I like the Jets versus the Raiders.
I agree.
I agree too.
Look, and it's a joke, obviously, right? No offense to Bob's Giants, but the Raiders beat the Giants, and they're out here like LSU winning the championship with the cigars and all this. I understand they're hyped. The Raiders have been a dumpster fire my entire life. I get it. They're excited. That's super cool. But they're playing hyped for Antonio Pierce. That matters, right?
Oh, yeah.
These guys are excited to be out there playing for this dude. That matters. And the Jets just got beat up by a Chargers defense. That's good, but not great. And they had 8 sacks or something stupid, right? So I like the Raiders quite a bit this week, actually, and actually more than the Jets versus the Raiders offense, because Tay's going to get peppered. Jacobs has been playing well. So could be a rough game anyway on national TV there. Low scoring regardless, but I do like the Raiders.
How about Max Crosby over under 3.5 sacks on Sunday?
Oh, shit. Well, 4 sacks is a massive game. They got a beat up offensive line too, man. I'm going to go the over. What the hell?
Go 2.5.
Sacks. 2.5, I'll go the over. I'll give him 3.
Yeah.
3 sacks.
I'll take the over on the 2.5.
Okay, so I'm going to Venmo one of you guys $5. Let's get that thing locked in.
Let's go. Put it up there. Let's
I don't even know if that's the line.
Here. It is. Yeah. We just made the line, Bob. What do you think this is?
I made 2 lines.
I forgot. It's a good point.
Chandler wants to know here. We're starting Fields. Is it always Fields now when he's playing, assuming he plays, versus the Panthers? Or are we going Joe Burrow versus the Texans? This is a 6-point passing touchdown league. Chandler, great work on the 6-pointer, buddy. Thank you for that. Connor or Pollard. So Connor's coming back. We got Pollard RB2, and then Debo, Ridley, Amari, or Connor at the flex PPR. Guys, this is a long one. Let's piece it down. Derek, we'll start with you on this one. Just break it down position by position, and we'll move on.
Yeah, so quarterback-wise, I need to know the health of Jamar Chase. If he plays and we get his score 80% or above, then I'm going Burrow pretty easily. If by chance he's out, then I would strongly consider Fields. That Bengals offense, if they're healthy out there, they're playing really well now, and I can't see how you could go away from them. But it does hinge on Chase. If he's not out there, then that's going to change things a little bit. So Burrow's is my quarterback. We just talked about Pollard, and I could trade him to Matt and get Bijan. I would rather have Bijan, but I don't know. I'm not really sure. I want to go with Connor coming off injury and with Kyler Murray as well coming off injury. What are we going to get there with the Arizona offense? I'm going to go Pollard, a little bit safe. And then on the flex side, I haven't looked at the slot versus wide matchups, but just on my hunch alone, I'm going Amari Cooper on this one.
Well, that's two of us. With everything Derek said, except all I did was ask, would you deal Pollard for Bijan? I never said I would do it. So let's move away from that.
I don't know. That's not what I heard.
Can we throw the red flag and get a replay on that?
I pretty much heard Matt was dropping Bijan. Did I not hear that correctly?
Yeah, that was wild too when you said that.
Yeah, I think we need to go to the tape for that one.
No, yeah, Kelly, Derek is on the podcast. Do you want me to tell him he's got dishes to do? Okay, I'll let him know. All right, miss you too. Derek, Kelly said, get back to the kitchen.
I don't know any Kellys.
Well, that's recorded.
What do you think?
Moving on.
So I'm not sitting Burrow. The guy's white hot, and this is a short week. I want to see Fields out there at Carolina. One of my takeaways before I deleted it was fade the Panthers defense for quarterbacks. They have been very good against quarterbacks this season. And so and 2 weeks ago, my matchup takeaway was start quarterbacks against the Texans. So, I mean, Bryce Young had a decent game and Baker Mayfield played well last week against them. I'm riding the hot hand Joe Burrow, not even close. Playing Pollard against the Giants are done. They're done. No, just forget the dreams. The receiving core is actually really, really hard. I actually want as much San Francisco 49ers as I could possibly get into my lineup this week. Coming out of the bye, bad losses and a couple bad losses in a row. They're going to be motivated. Debo's back. Trent Williams should be back. And the good thing is I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to put up some points too. So I'm going to lean Debo. I want him in my lineup.
I'm going to go Burrow, Pollard, Debo. You're right. Debo's been healthy for 2 weeks, by the way. He sat out intentionally the week before the bye. Then they had the bye to make sure that he was 100% healthy. So Debo's good to go. Not worried about that at all. And I think that's going to be a shootout there. I agree. Wizzy has the last question.
Chandler, though, right? So yep. Chandler got the same quarterback 4 times, the same running back 4 times. He got 2 different receivers twice. So this is where we push our followers back to the slot versus wide. Look at the analysis. Whichever one of those 2, Cooper or Debo, you feel more comfortable with after looking at the numbers, that's the guy you go with.
Well, Cooper's got Baltimore this week.
Hate it.
Bob, I'm talking to Chandler. Okay.
Okay. Sorry. You're right.
Wizzy Jefferson Stroud is my starter. I need help choosing the backup, though. We got Fields, Murray, and Dobbs. So Fields, again, coming off the injury. Murray hasn't played yet at all in about a year and a half or a year. And then Dobbs, who, talk about white hot, my man. Dobbs is crushing it. Bob, what do you think here?
It's Fields. Fields isn't a backup. He's a starter. So you might not be able to play him this week, but then he'll get 10 days to recover and he'll be good to go. It's Justin Fields.
Matty?
It's Fields, and I believe that's Wheezy Jefferson.
Oh, Wheezy. I would expect a double E there, maybe.
Yep. That handle may have been taken.
Would you say Wizzy?
Okay.
Jefferson.
Yeah, I went Wizzy. Is that not Wizzy? Is that not
Wizzy.
Wizzy if you don't know?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Wheezy Jefferson was George Jefferson's wife in the
Now-
Jeffersons.
It looked Wizzy to me.
Is it like Justin Jefferson is wheezy because he's hurt right now? Is that what he's trying to say here? Because he's got the Vikings logo.
Bob, that's a Twitter poll for sure. That's Wheezy. That's a Razzball Twitter poll. Is it Wizzy or Wheezy? I mean, that's obviously
all right.
Wizzy.
We got it. We're on it.
Just spelling go Justin Fields and pass it to Derek before this gets off the rails.
I know we may need clarification, but I think this goes back to an old sitcom from the 80s, doesn't it?
Yep. Jeffersons.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, which I'm okay with. It just the spelling is at question here.
Yeah. So with the icon there, I'm thinking he's hoping we're going to say Dobbs, and I don't not love that actually, because out of the three teams we're talking about, the Vikings are the best team, and Dobbs has shown that he can even lead a subpar Cardinals team with some success. Came into the he was in the building 4 days, and he led the Vikings to victory. So Dobbs is not a bad play, but I would agree Fields is the play here for this week. But if you've got room, stash Dobbs, and he probably is already if he's a Vikings fan. Stash Dobbs, especially with Jefferson probably coming back in a few weeks. That might be a sneaky playoff play that's worth holding on to.
I love all that. I'm actually gonna agree, Derek, all around. I like your call there. I think we go Fields because he's proven whatever with the upside, but Dobbs has absolutely been on fire there. All right, guys, let's transition here. We're gonna cruise through these games here. Again, we're not really recapping the weeks, we're more just kind of mentioning, the end of the game there and what we learned from it to move forward with. So let's dive right in here to the Pittsburgh Steelers and Tennessee Titans. Pittsburgh get the win at home. Will Levis is the starter moving forward. He's looked good. Obviously came out gangbusters, 4 touchdowns in his first game there as the starter, came back, average game, but he's ready to go. He is the starter. Ryan Tannehill now is the backup for the foreseeable future. But Derek, what's your general player takeaway from this one?
Yeah, where have you gone, George Pickens? I mean, one of us in this quad box, and it might be this guy, predicted George Pickens to be a top fantasy pick next year. Well, I was looking good for a while there, but that is down the toilet now. 3 receptions in the last 2 games for a total of 21 yards. He had 100-yard games before and after the bye in week 6, but since then he's just disappeared. And with Deontay Johnson coming back, you thought maybe it might open the field a little bit more, take some coverage away. He could even excel a little bit more, but no, it's actually gone just the opposite. He's more inconsistent with Johnson on the field. So I'm real disappointed with Pickens, and like we were talking earlier with Devontae Adams, he went from a must start. Now he's matchup at best. He's probably going to be on the bench most weeks now until we see some consistency again. But very disappointed in George Pickens.
And again, I had mentioned earlier in the show, I was debating Deontay Johnson because he's coming off of the IR, blah, blah, blah. You guys were like, you got to start him. I threw him in there, had a great game, right? Deontay Johnson just is the number 1 there. And you can argue that George Pickens is maybe more physically gifted, if you will, but he's just not the number 1 in the scheme when he's ready to go. So Deontay is that guy. We're going to move on to the Arizona Cardinals and Cleveland Browns. As we do that, Peter is wondering about Trey McBride or Taysom Hill. Matt?
It's Taysom Hill. PPR, our favorite format is full PPR. So we're going to go Taysom Hill. I'm going to answer for Derek. He's going to go Taysom Hill as well. Derek does not, just contractually, Derek has it written into his contract. He never has to discuss Arizona Cardinals tight ends again. So I will answer on his behalf. He doesn't even have to get into the muck and the mire of this question. So that's 2 for Taysom Hill. I do have a question. I do have a question for Derek. Back to the previous question or the comments. Derek said disappointed 3 times about George Pickens. Derek, just between me and you, nobody else can hear us. Are you more disappointed in George Pickens or Bobby for not bringing the pairs?
Oh, yeah, the latter for sure.
Yeah, same.
I'll get over George Pickens, but I was really looking forward to that segment tonight.
Yep, I'm really disappointed.
Yeah,
Bob, we're not mad.
Thing. All right, guys, listen. You're right.
We're disappointed.
I forgot to order the pairs. And listen, you know what? It's funny. As soon as I did the order on Sunday, I got home and I immediately was like, I didn't get the pairs. So I want to let you know I thought about it, though. I want to let you guys know I thought about pairs after the fact. Sorry, if the Giants didn't get me -3 fantasy points, I wouldn't have been on tilt all day. I've been texting Matt all morning just to set my lineup for the one league because that team, I just can't touch it anymore. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, well, you get a pass for Sunday, but not Monday or Tuesday. But anyway.
I'm not going. I don't double dip on shopping. I don't.
But
double
for Peter,
I go once a week. That's it.
Just one quick note for Peter, though. And I'm not going to talk about the first name there, but if you throw for touchdowns, if you catch touchdowns, and you're rushing for touchdowns as a tight end, that's your pick.
I will never. I'm not talking about Taysom Hill anymore. I'm out on him always and forever. Good luck. You'll be left holding the bag one week when he doesn't rush. He rushed 7 carries for like 66 yards. Like, that's not sustainable. He doesn't do that every week. But every single time I say it, he does it. So I'm out. Listen to these guys. They're always in on Taysom Hill. But when he gets you 3 carries for 15 yards, and that's it. Trey McBride's one of my trade targets for Dallas Goedert owners.
Trey McBride, 14 targets 2 weeks ago, did nothing last week. It's the nature of the position. I'll take the upside of Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is the 4th NFL player in history with 10 passing touchdowns, 10 receiving touchdowns, and 10 rushing touchdowns in a career.
Frank Gifford.
Love that. Nice
4 weeks in a row with double-digit fantasy points. 4 weeks in a row.
All right.
Tootin'. Let's move on here to the Arizona Cardinals and the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland gets the dub. How about a matchup takeaway here, Bob?
Yeah, well, it's going to be to start your quarterbacks against the Arizona Cardinals. It's just been kind of consistent. Deshaun Watson has been an absolute dumpster fire this year, and he got over 200 yards and threw 2 touchdown passes. And if Deshaun Watson, who has just looked awful pretty much all season, can do that, I feel pretty confident in a guy like Taylor Heineke. Some of this has to do with the fact that, number one, there's some big-time names at quarterback out this week. Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford. There's another guy that I'm not thinking about. Tua is out. So the streamers are going to be needed this week. And if you need to start a guy, Taylor Heineke would be key. I think the only caveat is Drake London, if he's back, would be great. But we kind of saw – I like the Kyler Murray factor too. Maybe the Cardinals' offense won't be so anemic. But even with the bad offensive play last week, Deshaun Watson got it done. So I really like Taylor Heineke as a streamer in Week 10 because the Arizona Cardinals just give it up at the quarterbacks.
Yeah, Bobby, I think there's actually 2 caveats there because Arthur Smith may bench him this week and go back to Desmond Ridder.
Okay.
Sure. So you got to take that risk as well. But no, I agree. I think Heineke's a really good play this week, and he's peaking at the right time. 38 attempts last week, which was a season high. He's thrown for 268 and 1. And what really stood out to me when I was looking at him, 7 attempts over 20 yards and 2 attempts, one in each of the last 2 games, of a pass over 40 plus yards. Or 40-plus yard play. So it's not just dinking and dumping. He's actually throwing the ball down the field as well. And so I think that's again, as the Cardinals, that's a really good play. I think he's a really good streaming option as well. So yeah, Heineke is on my streaming list as well.
Man, I got to talk about the other quarterback here, and unfortunately, I'm looking to trade away Deshaun Watson, and that's really just based on a good game, the last game or two. He could have had bigger games. He looked like vintage Watson, which is great. That's what we've all wanted for the last year and a half, but I don't think it's going to continue on any consistency. First of all, that offense doesn't lead to quarterback production and high passing volume. He's not running like he used to. Amari Cooper is great when he's great, but the rest of that offense isn't necessarily. And the schedule coming up is brutal. He's got Baltimore coming up next, who's destroying everybody right now. And then he's got Pittsburgh again, who just limited him to under 10 fantasy points in week 2. So I don't like Deshaun Watson coming up. I think that now is his highest value. So, guys, I want to bring out a couple names to you. We're going to go round robin. Bob, we're going to start with you. We'll go to Matt, and then we'll go to Derek. I'm going to give you Deshaun Watson and I just want you to give me the player you'd rather have. Bob, you ready? Matt, then Derek. Here we go. Deshaun Watson or my boy Sammy Howell. Bob?
Sam Howell.
Sam Howell.
Howell.
Matt? Derek. Howell as well. Baker or Deshaun Watson. Bob?
Baker.
Baker.
Oof. I'll go Baker as well because Deshaun's not running yet, but if he runs, then I'll have to go the other direction. Dobbs or Watson. Bob?
Josh Dobbs is
that's
a
where
lot
we're
of fun. I like it.
Killing it.
I'm just out on Watson. I don't care. It's a matchup thing. Give me the matchup. I'll pick the matchup between those two guys. Whoever's the best matchup.
Dobbs.
Okay. Sounds like a cheating answer.
What Bobby said. Same thing. I'm really kind of out on Watson as well, and I have been since he came back. I just, I've said it, and I ranted about him before. We thought he was just going to come back and be the Deshaun Watson of when he was in Texas, and it's just I'm out on him. So unless other than maybe Daniel Jones, I'm probably out.
God, you just couldn't let it go. We couldn't just get through the segment
without you should have brought the pairs, Bobby.
Yeah, the pair would have saved
all it takes is another 10-minute run to the store. I mean, I get it. Look, the weather though in Southern California lends to a nice evening drive, maybe even a bike ride, bro. Just get out there. Last one here.
You
How
live
about
in
Brock
an igloo?
Purdy?
I mean, who doesn't have access to a grocery store? You could just pop out, check the mail, go to the grocery store. You're done. Maybe grab a beer while you're out.
No.
That's ridiculous.
Bob, you could have watched baseball highlights at a bar somewhere while you went to go get pears.
Oh, nothing would make my day better. Baseball highlights.
There's a lot of options there. Brock Purdy, Deshaun Watson, rest of the season, Bob.
I don't think that's close. I think Purdy's going to go off the rest.
Yep, Purdy for me.
Yep, same. Yeah, Purdy.
I hope you're right. And I'll throw out an alternate just because he's coming back here. How about Kyler Murray, real quick?
Kyler Murray.
Deshaun Watson.
Kyler Murray.
Okay, I'm going to stick with Deshaun there as well. Let's move on here to the Chi-Town Bears and the New Orleans Saints. Saints get the win at home. Bob, matchup takeaway?
So you can run against the Saints now. One of the things that we kind of noticed over the last few years that the Saints' run defense has been absolutely dominant, but we've kind of noticed over the last, 3 weeks or so that running backs have had a lot of success on the ground specifically, but overall, we've seen just running backs pass game, whatever. So Devonta Foreman doesn't look like it wasn't a great fantasy day, but he had 83 yards rushing. The week prior, the Colts went absolutely bananas against them. They went for 150 plus rushing yards. Travis Etienne found the end zone twice against them. Even Singletary, Pierce, and Boone went over 100 yards. Yes, the Houston Texans, Tinquet or Triquet, whatever it is. The three of them went over 100 yards. So I'm not fading the matchup. And this week they get Alexander Madison, who, by the way, is now the bell cow again for the Vikings. So Josh Dobbs intelligently will get the ball to Madison, who had a receiving touchdown in this game. We saw James Conner have a lot of success with Josh Dobbs early on in the season as well. So I actually think that Madison can be an RB2 in this matchup because he'll get a shit ton of work.
I agree. And, again, loving the I don't think the issue with Kamara losing more touches this week is going to be an actual issue, but we just talked about Taysom Hill, and that always will be a goal line situation, unfortunately.
I'm more concerned with Jamal Williams' snap count going up and Kamara's going down. Taysom's going to get his 12 to 15 snaps. He's going to usually touch the ball on each one of those snaps. I'm more concerned with our guy Jamal Williams coming back to haunt Kamara throughout the season.
I would be curious to look at first half stats because they blew out the Bears.
I'm not worried about it. It's all
right.
Kamara, and it's late.
I'm gonna look it up, though.
I will say Kendre Miller, who is not on the radar. I get it. Kid's been hurt. He hasn't really exploded the way that some of us thought he might. He's legit. And if they do anything with Kamara next year, he moves on or something, he will be the next running back for the Saints. He had a great catch down the sideline for like 17 yards or something. I think he's more of a threat long-term to Kamara than Williams is, but Williams being the veteran there, they can trust him, whatever. Obviously, last year went insane with all those touchdowns. So let's move on here. Dallas, Philadelphia. Dallas had an opportunity to.
Sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
First half stats: 5 carries for Taysom Hill, 4 for Kamara, 2 for Jamal Williams. Not what we thought.
Yeah, so Kamara totally outpaced Jamal Williams. See, saw that coming. Taysom Hill, drop Alvin Kamara, pick up Taysom Hill, you'll be fine. All right, Dallas Cowboys had an opportunity to beat Philadelphia. They did not. Philadelphia squeaks out another one at home. How about a player takeaway in this one, Derek?
Yeah, that bye week for the Eagles, unfortunately for them, comes at the right time because the Dallas Goedert injury, in my mind, is really going to affect this offense. I mean, he hasn't had a great season, but he's a threat, kind of like Hawkinson in Minnesota. I won't say Kelsey, but maybe Laporta in Detroit. I mean, definitely he's a player that you have to, as a defense, you have to scheme against. And then with him being out now, who steps up? Well, I think it's going to be Devonta Smith. And I've actually, we've been, kind of hoping that we were going to see last year's numbers, and we're not. But if you look at his last few weeks, you're seeing some optimism. I mean, he had weeks prior to where he had 1 reception in 5 targets, 5 reception and 11 targets. I mean, he wasn't catching the ball. But for over the last 3, he's 14 of 15, 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he looks like he's coming into his home right at the right time where the Eagles are going to need him because they're going to Kansas City. Then they host Buffalo and San Francisco, and then they're going back, to face Dallas again. So Eagles, if they're going to continue on their roll, they're going to need Devonta Smith to step up, and he's showing signs that he's getting ready to do just that at the time they're going to need him. So I'm really high on Devonta Smith moving forward, and the Eagles. I think again, if the Eagles are going to continue to be the class of the NFC, they need someone else other than AJ Brown, and Devonta Smith is the name. So that's my player takeaway.
Yeah, I totally agree. I actually have 3 players I want to talk about quick. I'm going to throw them through the gauntlet with you guys here. 3 trade 4 candidates here. We'll start with the Eagles. Devonta Smith, who you just talked about, is a trade 4 candidate because Dallas Goedert being out. Over the last 2 seasons, those guys can't quite coexist, right, in the scheme. It's either Dallas Goedert and no Devonta Smith or Devonta Smith and no Dallas Goedert. When one of those guys has been hurt or out or not producing, the other one tends to go off outside of AJ Brown, and Dallas Goedert now is out. I expect Devonta Smith to be, going off over the next couple of weeks. Now, again, on bye, so temper expectations there for the next week or 2. Also, though, Philadelphia Eagles, and look, I'm a Niner fan. Like, I want them to lose for Niner purposes, whatever. They are the best team in the NFC for sure, and if not for the Ravens, they're the best team in football, in my opinion. They have the toughest schedule, no question about it, in the second half. So the Eagles are either going to come out and beat those 4 teams you just mentioned, Derek, and they've already won the Super Bowl, or they're going to come out and lose 2 or 3 of them. And then now it's anybody's game again, right? And I think Devonta Smith is going to be stepping up big time. So I also have Tony Pollard for the running back position and Jake Ferguson also at the tight end. So, guys, we're going to go around quickly here. I'm going to give you the player and we'll go round robin again really quick. To save time here, let's save the analysis unless it's valuable and just rock out the name here on the player. Let's start with Tony Pollard, who we talked about a bit earlier. I'm looking to trade for him just because of the opportunity. I think that Dallas offense is up and coming a little bit here. But, Derek, we're going to start with you. We know your stance on Pollard in general, but would you rather have Pollard or Ramondre Stevenson?
Stevenson.
Stevenson.
Matt? Bobby?
Pollard if I need to win now.
Okay. Gus Edwards. Derek?
Pollard.
Pollard.
Okay. And Bijan Robinson. Derek?
Bijan.
I'm not going to play this game.
Okay.
I'm going to go Pollard.
Okay, let's go to Devonta Smith quick. Devonta Smith or Nico Collins? Derek?
I want Smith.
Same. Smith.
Matt? Ooh. Bob?
Yeah, I'm going to take Smith because he's probably going to get hot without Dallas Goedert.
Okay, and reminder, Smith is out obviously this week, right? So if you can trade him, you're moving off from that week on the bye if possible, but it might be tougher to do. Olave or Devonta Smith? Derek?
Whew, that's a tough one. I'll go Smith, but that's tough.
Yeah, it's real close for me, but I think it's Olave.
If I need to start winning immediately, I'm probably going to want Smith for after the bye, the next 3-4 weeks.
Okay. Well, again, a lot of this is dependent on your roster. I get all that and settings and whether you win or losing, but this is where these guys are sitting. So throwing out those names, just two more here, and then we'll go to tight end. How about Christian Kirk, who we talked about earlier? Derek?
No, I want Smith.
Matt?
I want to say Kirk because of his consistency, but I think Smith is the better play long term.
Smith.
Okay. And last one here. How about Jalen Waddle?
Oh.
Bob, you don't have to play this game. I'll stand up for you. Bob's not playing this game.
No.
Awful.
I've already been beaten up on Bob, so I'll just lay off on this one.
Dude, terrible.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go Smith.
Not even
I would
close.
rather have Smith and
not even close.
Smith and Jalen Waddle. All right, last one, and we'll move on here. We're going to go with the tight end, Jake Ferguson. He's been dominating the last couple of weeks. Gentlemen, this week, or this last week, I should say, in week 9, an unprecedented 15 tight ends were over double-digit PPR fantasy points. We always make fun of tight ends because they let us do that. 15 were over double-digit PPR points. Very impressive. Jake Ferguson, or let's go with Logan Thomas. Derek.
Yeah, that's a good choice. We need to go back to which tight end led that group, but we can go back to that. I think I want Ferguson.
Matt?
Yeah, Ferguson, because it's him and CeeDee Lamb. That's about it.
Bubba?
I'm going to answer this, but can we pivot to one other thing before we start doing this one? Because I think it's important, the Dallas Goedert injury, we have to address, who's a tight end you're targeting now? Because, if you're a Dallas Goedert owner, you need a replacement for the next month. So we know streaming's tough. Does everybody have, a trade target at the tight end? I love Dalton Schultz as a guy that I would like to target if I was a Dallas Goedert owner. You know what I mean? Go get him. Trey McBride might even be dropped after the Browns game. I think he might be okay with Kyler Murray coming back as a
Musgrave.
Does anybody have a Cole Kmet? That's a good one. Matt, anybody?
Schultz is mine for sure, at top of the list.
Yep.
You're welcome on the Cole Kmet advice, and you're welcome on the you didn't need to take it because you took Kmet, but you're welcome on the Cade Otton recommendation too.
Nice.
I liked Cade Otton.
You could also.
I don't know if I can say thank you to that one.
If you lost Dallas Goedert, you might be able to get Taysom Hill too.
Amen.
Yeah. You can also look at Gerald Everett, who had a nice game on Monday night. And also I would consider maybe the best tight end in Atlanta as well. Jonnu Smith could be a good opportunity for you there as well if you're streaming and need to pick up. Last question, Dalton Kincaid or Jake Ferguson?
Kincaid.
Yeah,
Kincaid, and it's not close.
Well, what happens if Dawson Knox comes back? Are we worried?
Don't care.
No.
Yeah, I think he's carving out a role there.
Neither.
I agree.
Let's get to some of these questions here. Leo.
A stud.
Off the chain. So do I. But I think Dalton Kincaid might be more. Although I think they're kind of neck and neck, to be honest. That's why I put him in there. I feel like right now recency bias is Dalton Kincaid by a landslide, but Jake Ferguson's legit, and he has been throughout the season. And I trust the the Dallas offense more than I do Buffalo right now. I mean, Josh Allen gets fantasy points.
And Ferguson's still a little bit under
good.
the radar, so where Kincaid is not. So yeah, you might, if you're going to be able to get one, you're going to probably easily get Ferguson over Kincaid right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Let's get into a couple of these questions here and we'll move on. Leo Ramos checking in. Good evening. Trade Alvin Kamara for Brees and Evans. I have Swift as well. We're going to go half PPR here, boys. Bob?
I think if you need the wide receiver help, I don't see why not. It's a good 2-for-1. Yeah, I'd be okay with that deal.
Maddie?
I'm the same. I would prefer Swift instead of Kamara if I was making the deal. So I would start by offering Swift, and if they say no, then you go back with Kamara.
But isn't Brees Hall better than Swift?
I think so.
Right. So wouldn't the trade, in theory, be to upgrade your running back, right? So wouldn't it go Kamara? How do you guys rank those three running backs? Kamara, Brees,
Kamara, Brees, Swift for me.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
But the Jets have to be able to run the ball. That means they can't be trailing, and they have to have Nathaniel Hackett actually call a running play this week.
Well, and they need a line that can block.
Dude, that line is so. Oh.
And hey, don't look now, but Dalvin Cook had about 12 touches in that game as well.
Yeah, but I don't know. When I saw him, he didn't look so hot. So
no, he's not good, but he's getting work. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but he's taking him away from Brees. That's right.
Yeah. Derek, what do you think?
I like the Brees and Evans side here. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Enzo, 32-person league. Gerald Everett, Donald Parham. I'm going to make this really quick. If you're looking for PPR, you're looking for consistency and actual flatline points, it's Gerald Everett, easy. If you're looking for tight end upside with touchdowns, which is just what you get, that's Donald Parham. They don't do both. Parham doesn't do the 20s, in between the 20s. Everett doesn't do the red zone. It sucks. I hate it. I just went off on this on Sunday. That's what it is for the Chargers. So depending on what you're looking at, you can go that way. Peter is back. Fournette worth statching. Quick answer, yes or no? Fournette worth statching. Derek,
no.
Thumbs down. Matt,
no.
Matt, Bob, no. Okay. And Daniel, what's the tight end call this week? We just talked tight ends quite a bit here. Again, we like Kmet. Obviously, if he's still on waivers, Dalton Kincaid should be gone. McBride, I know he didn't have a great game, but he's getting the work there. You could look Gerald Everett. And again, you have a number of tight ends on bye this week there as well. So check and look at Evan Ingram might have been dropped off a bye. Pat Freiermuth is back around, something like that, right? Check out those guys on a high-powered offense getting the opportunities. Okay, guys, not much to talk about here in this one, but Indianapolis gets the win over the Carolina Panthers on the road. Not much to talk about here. Jonathan Taylor, though, all I want to mention is it is back to JT being the guy. Zach Moss is still getting some work, but JT is clearly the front runner there. So those of you that waited it out should have a nice second half of the season. Let's move on down to the Rams and the Green Bay Packers. Rams is tough, right? They signed Carson Wentz pretty much right before we hopped on the air tonight. And Carson Wentz is coming off the couch, fourth team in 3 years. Looks good for Puka and Kupp, right? I don't want to get too much in that. We can talk about it Sunday, but Rams look a little bit better than maybe we thought they were going to be with Matt Stafford out. But what's the real player takeaway in this one, Derek?
Yeah, for me, it's actually on the other side of the ball. It's Aaron Jones.
Aaron who?
Who? Aaron Jones.
Matt doesn't talk about the Packers.
That one fell flat.
It's sad. I know. He's sad. I get it.
But anyway, we're finding that teams can run against the Steelers. Henry and Spears had combined over 90 yards and a touchdown versus the Steeler defense. And so Green Bay should find that they could give the ball to Aaron Jones and he can continue, what he started, unfortunately it's week 9 when he finally started again, but we saw the highest workload, 20 rushing attempts, his most yards and the touchdowns, since week 1. So Aaron Jones comes in with a little momentum. We can run the ball against the Steelers. I think, this might be the last time you can trade for Aaron Jones. I'll throw that out to my trade experts here. But if he has another game where he strings two together, and again, Pittsburgh is a team that you can run against, then he's going to be off the market. So yeah, I would take a look at Aaron Jones.
I like that call.
For me, I think you can safely drop Royce Freeman and Darrell Henderson. They're on a bye. So if you need help somewhere else, go get that player that you need. We've talked about tight ends. A lot of people are streaming tight ends or quarterbacks this week. Drop one of those two running backs, go get the guy you want, and then consider re-adding probably Henderson as the leading running back, but Kyron will be back soon enough. So Henderson and Freeman are probably releasable at this point.
Matt, we know we're not picking up anyone on the Packers at this point. Some of them were good first half. It's dwindled, whatever. Curious, I'm just going to name off names. Yes or no. Are you willing to drop said player? Drop said player. Super flex leagues, you need to keep Jordan Love just for depth, so we'll skip him. But AJ Dillon, are you keeping him for a handcuff or dropping? If you need to, pick up a guy, whatever.
You asking everybody or me?
Just you.
I'm dropping AJ Dillon.
Okay. How about Romeo Doubs?
I'm holding Dobbs.
Okay. And Christian Watson.
I want nothing to do with talking about Christian Watson.
Holy smokes.
I don't think he's worth a roster spot at this point, but you have to hold him. He's just one of the players that, right? He had 7 touchdowns in 4 weeks, but I don't see it. And I would not be shocked if this guy does not, if he finishes his rookie contract in Green Bay, I'll be shocked.
Man, it's a real bummer. High hopes for a lot of those guys. We have a question here from Yeah, I agree. Yep. I agree. And I think he's going to have a big opportunity here moving forward, but unfortunately no longer this season. We have a question in the chat here that I'll bring up in a bit. We have Todd asking about DFS. Does somebody want to volunteer and look at the wide receivers for DFS this week? While we're going through it, just raise your hand and we'll get to Todd's question here in a second if somebody's willing to check out the DFS wide receiver section. And we'll get back to you in just a little bit there. And Daniel, the Indy defense versus the Patriots, you can go ahead and do that. I just don't like that offense there for the Patriots in general.
No, maybe go back, pivot back to the Raiders.
Let's move on.
Raiders defense against the Jets.
Absolutely. Or again, Jets versus the Raiders as well. I like either one of those. It should be a lower scoring offense. Let's get over to the Miami Dolphins and Kansas City Chiefs. This one kicked off Sunday out in Germany. Chiefs get the win here. Dolphins have turned back into a pumpkin. They are 0-3 versus teams over 500. They have beat the other teams under 500. It has really been a 50-50 shell of what goes on with this team. My trade away candidate is Raheem Mostert, and I love my guy Heem. I mentioned him a few weeks ago to trade away, but he had another quality game. Devin Achane is coming back, and Jeff Wilson's starting to get work as well. And this offense is going to have to run through Tyreek Hill forever. I would rather sell high if I can. So, guys, again, going to go round robin here real quick. Right now, Raheem Mostert is running back 2 on the season overall behind only the one and only Christian McCaffrey. That is obviously not going to maintain, at least in my opinion. Let's go round robin here. Derek, I'm going to start with you. Raheem Mostert or Josh Jacobs? I think you're on mute.
Can't believe I'm saying it, and that's why I put myself on mute. But Josh Jacobs.
Maybe that's the trick. If you put yourself on mute, it doesn't count as a take. So I respect that. Matt, Mostert.
I'm going to go with your favorite running back in the NFL, Josh Jacobs.
Oh, I thought you meant Raheem Mostert. Bob?
Jacobs.
Ooh. Okay. That's probably the right choice. Answer? I just hate it.
Well, yeah. Okay. I want to make sure you were on record with providing your Josh Jacobs answer as well.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of the season, Josh Jacobs probably gets more fantasy points. I just don't want that because, Mostert's going to have bigger games, and I can't stand the Josh Jacobs like fake blow up there. So let's go with DeAndre Swift or Mostert. Derek?
I'm staying with Mostert.
Bob? Oh, Matt? Let's go, Matt.
Swift.
Bob?
Man, Swift has been kind of rough. but I'm going to go Swift.
Okay. Mostert or Derrick Henry? Derek?
Oh, Derrick Henry season, folks.
No, I see Spears continuing to just kind of take those snaps. So I like that Dolphins offense better. I want a piece of the Dolphins offense over the Titans offense. I'll go Mostert.
Well, they named Levis the starter for the remainder of the season today, and so I'm going to go with Derrick Henry.
And
Derrick Henry had 17 carries to only 5 for Spears last week. So I think they were saving him for this moment. So
he usually turns into, what is it, the Yeti or whatever? I mean, he turns into a monster in November, December, January. So we'll see what happens. But I think for another week, I'm going to go Mostert as well. But Mostert, again, is on bye. And last one here, Bijan Robinson. Derek?
I want Robinson.
I'm not playing this game with you.
Bob?
I like how Matt just gets to bow out. Matt's
just the full bails.
He's like, you know what? I don't like where this is going. You kids, your intentions. You know what's funny? Like, is this a lot of this has to do with Devin and Chain coming back? I'm assuming, right? We're all kind of like hesitant.
Absolutely.
Right? So, okay. Yeah, I think I like Mostert a little bit. But Bijan. Yeah, give me Mostert.
Yeah. And AJ's got a question here. And I mean, if this is it's both of them for Bijan Robinson. I would not do that. I would
want that Chain.
Tried it. Exactly. I would try to sell Mostert if you can. He's the hot one right now. Anyway, go get Bijan and deal with it. A Chain comes out and he's rusty for a week or two while he gets back to health. I'm okay with that because you're starting Bijan or whatever you have Bijan, but I don't want to sell both those guys because nonetheless, whoever that starter is for the Dolphins has been on fire. So be careful there. Don't just sell to sell. Let's go into Minnesota and Atlanta. Again, Josh Dobbs takes over. He's in the building for less than a week, literally doesn't even know the names of his offensive linemen. He comes in, he gets the W. Fabulous work from him. We got a lot to cover in this game. Bob, we'll start with a matchup takeaway.
Yeah, start your tight ends versus the Vikings. It wasn't just last week. If you look at the game against Atlanta, Jonnu Smith looked very good against them as well as Kyle Pitts, but Jonnu Smith went absolutely bonkers against them. But overall, this week they got the Saints. Taysom Hill is not your traditional tight end. Juwan Johnson did have 5 catches, 5 targets, did find the end zone this week. He runs the most routes. He's your traditional tight end. So is there a chance you could probably get away with starting one or both? I think Taysom Hill, we would all say, is the guy you're going to want to pick here. But at the same time, if you're one of the guys that have a guy on bye, I believe Travis Kelce's on bye. I think we have guys we're a little bit higher on, but Juwan Johnson is someone who just stepped right back into that. He got more routes than Taysom Hill, and he did get 5 targets last week. So if you are looking for a dart throw, look at Juwan Johnson.
Okay, got it. How about a player takeaway, Derek?
Yeah, well, out of this conversation, I wanted to hear Bobby say, start your tight ends versus the Vikings, and they're playing New Orleans. So he would say Taysom Hill, start your tight ends, Taysom Hill against the Vikings. I just wanted him to say that in the same sentence. He did. That's all I need to say.
Great.
Yep, I agree. I wanted Bobby to admit that Taysom Hill is legit, and I think that's what I heard.
Fair enough. Josh Dobbs is a trade for candidate. If you need a quarterback, you can go get him. I think he's played well, but I think it's still like people don't believe in it. I would do that and trade away Kyle Pitts if you hadn't already. He's been in my article every week this whole season. If you're still holding on to Kyle Pitts, please do that. Guys, I'd rather have, Josh Dobbs or Geno. I'd rather have Josh Dobbs. I'd rather have him over Fields, over Russell Wilson as well. And for Pitts, I'd rather have Njoku, maybe Derrick Henry, McBride, even Musgrave as well. So there's a couple players there. I want to get into something here, just clear the air, gentlemen, before we move on. We're going to move on to the next couple of games. But first, it was a Wizzy, who we just got confirmation on here. So that was Wiz E. Had to step away to shovel my driveway. So missed the answer, but I just listened, and my name is pronounced Wiz E. So that's a W for me. Also, shouts out to Wizzy. Look, if you live anywhere where you have to shovel your it's 10 p.m. probably, something where you're at. Appreciate that. We're getting long in the tooth here as well with us, so we appreciate you being with us. We're going to wrap up in about 10 to 15 minutes, folks. We're going to get blasted and see a couple questions. We'll get to you as soon as possible, but let's get into the rest of these games here. Not much to mention from the New York Football Giants and the Las Vegas Football Raiders. Again, rough all around. Raiders played great defense. They were absolutely on fire. They destroyed the offense. Unfortunately, we just had a note down here as well that Patricio traded Mostert for Saquon Barkley a few weeks ago. So again, folks, that high upside is some opportunity. I think we'd all rather have Saquon Barkley rest of season, even in that offense, than Raheem Mostert potentially. So no, Bob? Okay, I'll take him in PPR leagues. Absolutely. Let's move on down here to the Seattle and Baltimore game. Seattle got shellacked. I mentioned this on Sunday. They're going across the country to Baltimore. Baltimore's the hottest team in football right now. Definitely in the AFC. They've actually been phenomenal. A ton of matchup takeaways, but we don't want to bash on the Seahawks too much. Let's go right to the waiver column here. Again, Matt's article is available on football.razzball.com right now with all of his articles. But Matt, who's your top waiver ad this week?
If you're going to stash and hold, Keaton Mitchell is the guy. Home run hitter, game breaker, whatever cliche you want to use. The only concern right now, right, is Gus Edwards is the bell cow. Some will argue that Keaton Mitchell came in because it was garbage time, right? They just throttled the Seahawks. I would say if you have room on your bench and you want to swing for the fences, right? You're one of those teams that has to win every week, so you need the most points. I don't trust Gus Edwards to get 2 more touchdowns. I'll double down on that. He did it again. But they either were resting him or something was wrong on Sunday because they played everybody else. And of the additional running back, well, of all running backs, Keaton Mitchell looked like the best. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's the number 1 next year or the number 2 behind J.K. Dobbins. So I like Mitchell, but I don't know that you're going to start him after this week. You would have to have a running back quandary like no Mostert, no Achane type, no Pacheco this week to throw him in a lineup. I like him moving forward, especially as a hold stash.
And Keaton Mitchell's just got the wheels, right? We see that. I mean, some of these guys that have the speed, they just get work. So big play there, right? So temper expectations, but great move. My trade away candidate here is DK Metcalf. Talked about him at the top of the show. Don't need to mention again, but some wide receivers I'd rather have over DK Metcalf rest of season. This is just my opinion. Calvin Ridley, Drake London, and Chris Godwin. And then Zay Flowers is kind of on the fence depending on the format. And with that, gentlemen, we have a quick question here from Call of Duty Great Again. Love that. 7-2 PPR. I'm dominant. Again, humble brag. It's fine. At flex and running back. Wide receivers, Lamb, Waddle, Pittman, Higgins, Kirk, and Flowers. Can we feel okay dropping Flowers? Round robin quickly. Bob, we're going to start with you. Of those 5, who would you be comfortable with dropping? Or 6?
Sure. Yeah. Depends on what for. There's got to be more context to this. Are you just dropping him for what? To stream a quarterback, to stream a tight end? Got guys on bye? Sure. You can drop Flowers.
Matt?
Same for me. If you're dropping him for a reason, yep, streaming somebody, tight end or quarterback, absolutely do that. I wouldn't drop him to stream a defense, but unless you have, it doesn't matter because Cleveland's not on a bye. So they're them and the Niners, unless you have the Eagles and you want to hold them, that would make sense. But I'm not just dropping Flowers to drop him. I will put him on the bench. He can almost guarantee that he and George Pickens will be rubbing elbows on our bench this week.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking the same thing. I'd rather hold him if you're dropping him for you mentioned defense or even a kicker. At 7-2, I can take a chance. I'd rather hold him than drop him for a kicker, for instance. But yeah, he's of that. If you have to make a drop, he's probably the one in the list to drop.
Yeah. And with T. Higgins coming back to life, I'm going to hold back onto him. But I think maybe 2 weeks ago, we probably would have dropped T. Higgins, but he finally is coming back a little bit there. Let's move on here to the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud goes nuclear in this game, sets all sorts of rookie records, 5 touchdowns, over 400 yards passing, the most by any rookie passing Andrew Luck. absolutely on fire in this game. They have 0 run game. Derek and Matt both warned everybody about Devin Singletary being in your lineup. Dameon Pierce hasn't been up to snuff. So it's all passing all the time for the Texans, which has been great. But what's the main matchup takeaway here, Bob?
Yeah, you got to start your QBs against the Bucs. They have a lot of talent in their secondary, but for some reason they just haven't been. Stroud went off, but even Josh Allen, Desmond Ridder had over 20 fantasy points against them. Everybody, not except for the Derek Carr Saints, had 20 fantasy points. Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff. Everybody's going off against them. And this week they have Will Levis. So you have an opportunity to start Will Levis if you have Patrick Mahomes. He's been a guy who's on the up and up, threw for 265 yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers. On the flip side, start your tight ends against Houston. We just saw Kate Otten played very well against them this week. Irv Smith is a deeper name if you are looking for a tight end streamer. If you lost Dallas Goedert and a lot of the names we discussed you can't get, Irv Smith is a deeper name to monitor as well, as he had a productive game last week.
It's been mentioned a couple times already. Levis is named the starter, and I think the week he came in, this group predicted that was coming. So it's probably no surprise to any of the four of us to see that. But he's been serviceable. So like Bobby said, he's got a great matchup this week. If you need some help at quarterback, don't discount the rookie.
Maddie, how about waivers?
Everybody on offense for Houston should be rostered at this point, except the running backs. They're going to be rostered, but I don't have any interest in Pierce or Singletary. So give me Stroud, give me Tank Dell, give me Nico Collins, give me Dalton Schultz, and give me one Noah Brown. By the way, I think Robert Woods has lost his starting spot to Noah Brown. I don't know how the coaching staff will see that, right? It's a defensive head coach. He may, D'Amico Ryans may say you don't lose your spot due to injury, which is the old Chuck Knox theory. But I will tell you that it should be done. Noah Brown's a better player right now than Robert Woods. Career-wise, Robert Woods is better, but right now Noah Brown is better. I would start any of those players. Temper your expectations this week against the Bengals, but the 3 weeks after Cincinnati, the Texans have fantastic matchups for all of those offensive positions. I will tell you that Bobby in the background will probably tell you that Schultz is great right now, but his fantasy playoff workload is probably going to be diminished. He's not going to be what you see now. He probably is not going to deliver that in the playoffs.
He's a perfect Dallas Goedert pairing, right? So you get him for the 4 weeks Dallas Goedert's out, and then when the playoffs come, you could just go back to Dallas Goedert. It's perfect.
Nice. I like that. And we're going to start looking ahead to playoff previews in the next couple of weeks here, folks. We got just a couple more matchups and we're going to get out of here. Any last minute questions, make sure to get those in. Kenny, we see you down there. We'll get to you in just a second here. Let's move on to the Commanders and the Patriots here. Commanders again, my boy, Sammy Howell keeps it moving here. Not much from the Patriots, but trying to stay competitive, but this Washington team is actually being quite productive here. What's the main takeaway in this one, Bob?
Yeah, you can start your quarterbacks against the Patriots. Sam Howell got their 325 passing yards. Allen and Tua went absolutely nuclear against them as well. This week they have Gardner Minshew, and Minshew's kind of been. Last week he was not productive, and the Panthers are the flip side of this argument. They have been very tough. So I think Minshew is another guy you could potentially stream if you are missing out on Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Stafford, and or Tua this week.
Yeah, as a Minshew owner in my Superflex, I'm all in for this. He didn't really do much last week, but he didn't really need to. But I think the point. I mean, he threw for 26 times. We prefer when he throws 56 times. But 26 times. But the main encouraging thing is he had no turnovers in that game, which is again really encouraging. 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, the last 3. Seems like he's settling into a nice plateau. So a game like this against the Patriots, and maybe we can step it up to maybe 38 to 40 passes. You're gonna do well to roster Minshew this week.
Love that. How about a waiver ad?
Maybe Jamison Crowder you look at, but I prefer Demario Douglas, considering he appears to be the number one wide receiver. Some might tell you it's Juju Smith-Schuster, but I don't trust him at his age and his lack of speed. Great hands, but otherwise, give me the upside in Demario Douglas and consider Jamison Crowder on the other side.
Trillian. Let's move on here. We got two left. We got the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. This game was a bit of a letdown if you're a Bills fan, man. The Bengals come out and smashed a bit. And again, Josh Allen gets the fantasy points, but NFL terms, I think he's fading just a little bit here last couple of weeks. Bob, main takeaway from this one?
Yeah, you could start your tight ends against Cincy. So the Bengals defense is great overall, but it's against the tight end specifically. I mean, George Kittle 9 for 149 last week. Dalton Kincaid 10 for 81. Other guys that have been good against them, Mark Andrews, for example. So if you need a streamer tight end, that's why I really like Dalton Schultz as a trade acquiring him this week, because he gets that matchup, and I expect the Texans to be chasing Cincinnati in that matchup. So I really like Dalton Schultz in this matchup. What's your thoughts about Dalton Schultz, Derek?
Yeah, no, everything you just said. There's tight ends for the last few weeks have been very successful against Cincinnati. We talked about Schultz. Stroud's playing really well, so definitely I agree with their. If you can get Schultz, or if you have him, you want to play him this week for sure.
All right.
Agree with
again, all these studs are already rostered, so we're not worried about that. We got a last question here from Kenny before we get into our last game. Start 2, full PPR. Jonathan Taylor, Bijan Robinson, Joe Mixon. Nice stable of running backs. Matt, let's go with you first. Start 2.
I guess it's Taylor and Mixon, but I want it to be Bijan and one of the other guys. But volume is Mixon, volume is Taylor. Moss is on the way out, so I don't trust Arthur Smith. So JT and Mixon for me.
Bob?
I finally was like, all right, let's put Moss in this week. He's getting enough work, and he just completely falls on his face. Oh, it's so funny. He's been sitting on my bench all year. It's great. I got to take a shot on Bijan against Arizona. Arizona against running backs is so bad. I'm going to take the shot. I'll face plan on that. And the other one's kind of tough. I think I'm going to go Joe Mixon in that game.
Wow. Derek?
Yeah, it's Bijan for me, and for sure. Again, I want a piece of any team that's going against Arizona, and there's some reason why he's a head coach there. Arthur Smith is head coach there, so I'm going to assume that he knows to play the right player here to win a ball game. Maybe you
are incorrect.
Maybe I'm a little too optimistic there, but even still, I can't sit Bijan. He's the best player there, and then I'm going to go Mixon on volume over JT again. There's still, I guess, some concern that Chase is going to be either limited or he may even be out. And if that's the case, then I think Mixon gets a bigger role there. So I think just on volume, and JT, he's certainly taken the bulk of the role, but Moss is still there, and if he gets a hot hand, he might get equal touches or even more. So I'd rather go volume and go Mixon.
Yeah, tough spill there on the collarbone for our boy Jamar Chase. So I assume he plays this week, but he may be a little bit limited depending on how that goes there. I'm going to go JT and Mixon. I'm just going to fade Bijan until we see it otherwise. Last game here, boys. We got the Chargers finally showing up. I said that they had to on Sunday. They certainly did. They dominated on both sides of the ball, and the defense and special teams came up big time as well. And Justin Herbert and the boys didn't have a massive game on offense. Eckler did, but they got it done. Main takeaway in this one, Bob?
Got to fade your outside receivers against that Jets secondary. The Jets early on in the season, Sauce Gardner missed some time. DJ Reed missed some time. They're all healthy now, and it's just been tough. Now you got Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers with Aiden O'Connell at quarterback this week. I'm fading both those guys if I can. I would love to trade Devontae Adams right now if I can. Deebo Samuel would be a great one, especially if I need a win this week. Go get a guy like Deebo. against Jacksonville, and I would trade him straight up for Devontae Adams. But overall, it's just not. It's a matchup to avoid 100%.
All right. Well, that's going to do it to wrap it up here. I got a quick question for you guys before we let Bob fade out. But before I ask that question, Matt, let everyone know where they can find us on Sunday and what to look forward to along the way.
Be here 3 hours before kick. No, it's 2 hours before kickoff, not 3. 2 hours before kickoff. The four of us, when we can make it into the office, if you will, we'll talk about start, sits, trades, holds, cuts, waivers, all of those things on Sunday. We always say you come for the analysis, stay for the laughs. We have a good time on Sunday, and we will do our best to avoid our subjects so that we can get to all of your questions. And before we move on, right, all of my stuff's available at Razzball NFL. And if you're curious to see somebody squirm in his chair, I'm going to turn the rest of my time, I'm going to yield it to Bobby, and he can go on record as thanking me for the Chargers defense special team start, and specifically by name Darius Davis.
Nice.
Bob, over to you.
Not doing any of that. I was high on the Chargers all week, fading them for the Giants in my one league that mattered, and I lost because of that move. And then when I talk to you, Matt, you're my confidant. I appreciate you. I do appreciate you. You're the voice of reason in my head, and I appreciate that about you. But that move won me the week because I had the Jets D going into Monday Night Football, and I pivoted to the Chargers after talking to Matt. Now look at me. I'm undefeated in that league because of you, Matt. Good job.
If Matt's your voice of reason, you need to go get some therapy, Bob.
Yep. I agree.
So I've literally taken a team, the number 1 seed, and I have gone them all the way down to 500 because I've made every single wrong move in this league, and I'm done.
So
I'm done with myself.
You got to go.
I'm out with
look,
myself.
Bob. When that happens in life, you got to go Costanza. You have to go Costanza, right? If everything you believe is wrong, then the opposite must be true. So you gotta flip the script, right? So do your analysis, make the decision, and be like, oh, psych, and then go the other way. It'll work out. Robert jumping in at the last minute here. Chuba, JSN, half PPR quickly. Derek.
Chuba.
Matt.
Chuba, even though I prefer to play in full PPR leagues.
I also prefer full PPR leagues. Bob, go ahead.
I also like free points for no reason. Chuba Hubbard.
Okay, I'm going to go JSN there. Last question before I let Bob roll us out here. Derek and Matt, this is just for you. Quick question. I'm going to give you a category. I'm going to give you a second category. Let me know which one you like better. Warm mayonnaise or pears? Derek, we'll go to you first.
Pears.
Matt?
Pears.
Not even close.
Okay. How about moldy
mayonnaise.
bread? Moldy bread or pears? Derek?
It's tough one, but I'll go with pears.
Okay, pears. Matt? All right, last one. A moldy peach, like a rotten peach that's just inedible, unfortunately. Derek, will go to you first.
Or a regular peach?
No, pear. Pear or a rotten peach.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a pear. Yeah.
Okay, Matt?
Yeah, I'll even take a pear over a peach. Doesn't need to be
a
just
bad
straight
peach. Up. Okay, so you're actually bumping pears higher in your rankings than even I have them.
Why is
I raised the roof to bring the pear up.
No, this doesn't make any sense. So this whole segment makes no sense. If pears are so good, why aren't you bringing up good stuff? Like what's pizza or pears?
Bob, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for tonight.
Why
don't you run us out, and we'll go ahead and catch you on Sunday. Appreciate it.
That's all we got, folks. Thank you for joining us once again on the most ridiculous show ever, because all we talk about is how great peaches are on the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. Come back every single peaches, pears, whatever fruit you guys want to talk about. We talk about it on this show for no dang reason. But make sure you join us every Tuesday as we break down a bunch of madness. Every matchup, player, waiver wire, join us every Tuesday. We're going to be live on the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel all off season long. Make sure you subscribe. We're going to be breaking down top matchups for the playoffs. Top handcuffs you got to own, all the must-have players you need to stash on your teams all the way through to the end of the year. And, of course, make sure you join us on Sunday. We do our Sunday live show for 2 hours, Matt. Not 3, but Matt will be there for an hour beforehand because he's not stoked just jump on the show. We do all your start sit questions on Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. Make sure you go to razzball.com where we do all the great articles, waiver wire, trade targets, 5 things you got to know, start sits, everything you need to win your fantasy leagues. And of course, make sure you jump over to TikTok, IG. We have everything, folks. But thank you for joining once again. I want to thank all my co-hosts. You got Matthew Styles, go follow him at Styles08. Derek Favre, go follow him at Derek_Favre. Sky Gawasko, follow him at Sky Gawasko. And me, Bobby Lamarco, at Bobby Lamarco. Once again, folks, thank you for joining. We are out of here.